All right. Well, welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter Podcast. Today we're back with another awesome episode. This is episode number 57, and today we are bringing on my man Brian. Brian, this is the first time we've met, literally 5 minutes ago before the episode, but I've been watching your content for the last few months. You've got a lot of great motivation, and I think you speak about running in a very genuine way that really has led me to really enjoying watching your content. I think you have a lot of a different perspective than most, and I think you've really motivated a lot of people. I find you to be inspiring, and I see in the comments section that you inspire a lot of people. You live in New York City, you run a lot of marathons, you do coaching, all these different things that I'm really excited to dive into today. But let me kick it off to you for a quick introduction.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here, Sam. I'm so excited. I guess a little bit about me. I do a lot. So that is the biggest question I think people have. As I like to say, I run full time, which is a dream in the making for a few years now. I am a run coach, coaching adult amateur athletes. I own a running apparel line called Great Day for Runners. I also do content creation for other brands, but all I'm trying to do is trying to elevate people's lives, especially queer people's lives, through the love of running, and that's just kind of what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I love that. And congratulations on being able to run your career on running. I think that's an incredible, lifestyle to have. That's something I would love to have myself, but, we're working on it. So were you in corporate jobs prior to really focusing on content and your brand and working with other brands, or what did that look like for you in that transition?
Yeah, so I was definitely a corpie, as we like to call them.
Okay.
Definitely had a corporate job. So I have had about maybe six different careers before this. I was jumping all around, and so I'm so happy to kind of find my niche and what I'm supposed to do now. I actually started my career out in the fashion industry, running around. I was a merchandiser for a bunch of big brands. And after a little while, that wasn't working out. It was very Devil Wears Prada. It was very, abusive bosses, not getting paid anything. So from there, I kind of had a little bit of an identity crisis. I moved to France. I left my then boyfriend, now husband, home in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, moved to France for a year, taught English. And then when it was time to come back, I said, okay, I have journal entries being like, I want to start a gym or I want to be a run coach. I want to do all these things. And then as soon as I got back to the US, I was like, God damn it, I need to make some money. So I went into tech. So I went to coding school. I learned how to be a software engineer. I got into software engineering. Long story short, my most recent career was in ad tech, kind of working with clients. And then when was it? It was about not this past April, but the April before that, when I left my corporate job to try to take this little dream of running full time a reality. And so far it's working. So I couldn't be more happy. It's a grind, but we've made it.
I love that story, and you obviously, put your hands in a lot of different fish tanks there to figure out what it was that you were able to do, right? But you ended up finding the right fish for yourself, which essentially is, living a career off of running. And so I would love to hear though from the beginning, like what actually got you into running in general, and then we can start talking about like how you've adopted your life into this career of running.
Totally. So if I looked back about 5 years ago, I would have no idea that anything sitting on a podcast right now talking about running would be my life. Like this is like still I have these kind of pinch me moments all the time. So I was, to start way back, I was an athletic kid. The long and the short of it is high school came around and I was bullied out of sports. I was really talented at football, soccer, pretty much anything I tried my hand at, I was good at. But the kind of masculine culture around these sports, it was degrading and it wasn't me. And, it was trying to fit a square in a circle. And so high school came around, I dropped all sports. And long story short, did the classic gay kid thing, went into theater. And then my senior year, I was like, I was like, theater, this doesn't feel it. This just isn't right. And so one of my girlfriends actually got me to join the swim team because it was the only team in high school where you could practice with the girls. So I started off, in the girls' lane, like it was only meets where I was like mixed with guys, and that's where I felt comfortable. But then from there in college, I got obsessed with swimming. I got obsessed with athletics, and kind of as cross training, a friend, brought me out on my first run. And, it's a classic, went on 2 mile run and was like, oh my God, what is this? This is crazy.
Yeah.
So never thought of it myself as an athlete whatsoever. I was kind of growing into that identity. But I have to say, after running more and more and more, it was the first thing that made me really feel comfortable in my skin as a queer person. And it was really the space where I felt like I could truly be myself, have my own thoughts, and nobody could judge me for them when I'm out on a 20-mile run. So my friend convinced me to do one 10K. I did a 10K and was like, this is the holy grail. I have found it, not knowing it would be my life, but I had so much fun. And then, of course, after that, like so many people in the sport of running, I was like, well, 10K I did. So I guess the next thing we're doing is a marathon. And, in classic fashion, signed up for a marathon my junior year. I did it. I got the validation from all my peers. I was like, yeah, I'm the coolest person ever. And so for the next 10 years, I just kind of grinded out some marathons. I never really went for speed. I did 10 marathons before I ever did a speed workout. I was just kind of out there doing my thing. I went from, I think, a 3:47 was my first marathon. And, just by doing all easy runs, I essentially made it somehow to a 3:10, which is crazy. And I would spend so much time learning about the sport of running and learning about the science and learning about the cross training, but had this kind of limiting belief that like, I'm not fast. I'm still not an athlete. Like I feel like that should be me, but like society has told me once that this is not where I belong. So it was definitely during the pandemic, I started running even more than I had been. I started coaching people on the side. That's really where I got my start there. Tons of people being like, Brian, you've run 10 marathons. Could you help me? Like, how do I enjoy running? Yeah. So I actually ran this, like, it was an 8-week program. I did it twice. I had like 30 or 40 runners, which is crazy. During the pandemic, everybody had a different goal. And I said, okay, I will write a plan for you. I will coach you through it, all different levels. And most people were just like, I want to learn how to run. I want to learn how to love running. And so my entry into coaching was not performance. It wasn't, how fast you're going to go. It wasn't, these are the times I need to beat. It was really like, how do I get a person who has historically said, like, this is not for me, and show them, no, it's for everybody. It's for absolutely everybody. And so from there, I was coaching on the side, and I joined my first run team / it's really a coach. Shout out to Coach Medina. They're awesome. I joined a run club. They run a marathon training program where essentially you're running with a bunch of people at your own paces. And that is where I felt, something like, if I felt something click at that 10K, this was like, the skies opened and like the universe was talking to me, like, this is what you need to do, which sounds so crazy, but it's once I started like really challenging myself on the speed, once I really started believing in myself and thinking that I had potential, that's where it all took off. And then the rest is history. I realized that this is just something so much bigger than I ever started out for it to be. And that's how I got to where I am now. It just kind of keeps on growing and keeps on evolving.
I'm really inspired by your story. I mean, I think you obviously went through a lot when it came to your early, childhood of athletics. And I'm so sorry you went through all of that. You're not alone. There's many people I've met, or I just have heard stories just like yours. But what did you do about it? You figured out something in a space that you were personally comfortable in, where you felt like you could really thrive, and you have built a really, really awesome, unique, fun, amazing life, it sounds like. So kudos to you, man. Like you've really done a lot of incredible things, even after going through a lot of adversity. But I want to start with that first part of what you went through at a young age, going through youth sports and being bullied and dealing with that. For someone who might be listening to the episode who maybe they went through that experience and they haven't been able to find themselves since then, or maybe they're going through that experience now. Do you have any advice to really put someone in a spot where they can, turn their life around even with dealing with these obstacles that they can't control?
Definitely, definitely. Well, I would say first off, in terms of the world of sports, this kind of environment that is thrust upon us at a young age, this kind of masculine ethos that you have to be tough and you have to go for it and you have to be all in and you have to not cry. Like, let me just say that is such utter bullshit, and the world is changing, and I can only hope that for younger people it feels different now. I know it does in
Yeah.
some regard, but sports are for everybody. Running especially is for everybody. Anybody who is able to move their body should allow themselves the peace of mind to know that their body is theirs. What they want to make out of the sport is theirs. So I would say, like, first off, I don't know if I can swear on here. It's all bullshit. That is all bullshit. And I would recommend to people, like, there are other people out there like you. Had I known there were gay runners, I mean, even when I was 24, it's like running and gay never mixed. And now here I am running. I run now a monthly, we call it the Gay Bar Fun Run. It's all with, different queer people, straight people, everybody coming to kind of celebrate the queer experience in running. And just know that you are not alone in feeling that way, and there are other people out there. So if you're not finding your team where you are, if you're not feeling the support or the love from the people that are around you, like it is out there. And now obviously social media, we love TikTok, we love Instagram, like it's out there. Find your people because you are not alone.
Yeah. That's amazing advice, and I completely agree. There's just so many communities out there that, are so welcoming these days. I mean, when I was in New York, like you, the running clubs there are amazing, but I'm in Denver now. It's a smaller city. There are still tons of groups, regardless of who you are, what you want to be part of, what people you want to be around, whatever it might be. You just got to find it, right? And social media is such a great way to start doing that. So I love that. And then, in regards to your story, right, you really got into running, at an accelerated rate. It sounded like you started running competitive racings to, shorter races to eventually running marathons, seeing significant improvements through those races. A lot of the people that listen to this podcast are beginner runners. And so, in general, as far as getting into running, like what type of advice do you have for someone to get into running and start seeing some early success, some quick wins for themselves, and really have the long term consistency to want to run for their entire life, like you and I probably are going to do?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, whenever I have a new running client, my goal for them always is to set them up for a lifetime of success with running. That's what I want all of us to be doing, hopefully years from now when I'm 90 years old,
Yeah.
still doing this. And so I would say the biggest thing, obviously, there's the scientific side, right? There's the start easy, go slowly, keep it all at a conversational pace. Like, right? I feel like the world, there's a lot of information out there about that, and that is absolutely wonderful. I like to focus, if someone says, how do I get into the sport? Focus on gratitude. Focus on enjoying it. Focusing on being out there. When you're out there and it's feeling incredibly tough, one of my favorite things to do is look up at the sky and just be like, what? It could be pouring rain, it could be sun shining, whatever it is, just take stock of that. Like, you get to be here, you get to be on this run. So kind of having that little bit of mindfulness with running, and that like goes into my whole point of, running isn't the scary performance, go harder and harder and harder. There definitely is that aspect, but you're only even going to get to that start line if you can focus on like how lucky you are to be able to move your feet, how lucky you are to maybe go a little bit further than you did last week. It's all about you versus you. And so taking off the kind of comparison with other runners, it's just you versus you, baby. Just, just have fun out there. This sport should be fun. It should be, just a joy to be out there. And that's what I think, if you focus on that, you take off the pressure, just enjoy it. It's all for fun.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And it's a unique answer. I ask people this question pretty much every episode, and you hear a lot of, oh, be consistent, take your time, don't compare yourself to others. But you did mention the comparing yourself. But what I really liked is the gratitude and just the having fun portion. I think that's a little bit more unique for you, because I think for me, I struggle with this sometimes, but I know many other runners struggle with this too, is the reminder of staying positive on those days where maybe you're doing an easy run, but like mentally you're not in it, physically you're not in it, and you try to have that gratitude and that appreciation. How do you get yourself back in that mindset on those really tough days?
Oh, well, those tough days, they can be tough. They can definitely be tough. And, some days it's truly just about checking the box. Some days it's you go out there, you try, you're like, look at the clouds. I hate the clouds. Those are disgusting clouds. And you feel no gratitude. And you get home and you can just mentally kind of check off that box. I would say, like, one of the biggest things you could do is talk to people. Like, I have clients who will text me and all they need to say is, that was the worst run of my life. And all I have to say is, been there, I get it. And that little bit of camaraderie, that little bit of support is enough to keep people going. So it's not about comparison. It's just about, like, the idea that it happens to everybody. Everybody has those runs. I had a client recently who she just absolutely crushed. She flew in her first half marathon. She flew in her first 10K, like faster than I would have ever expected. And then after that, she was asking me, she's like, Brian, it's been tough. Like, I don't feel that motivated to run right now. What do I do? And I was like, girl, that happens. This is my career. And I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this today. I do not want to do this. It comes in waves. All you have to do, like, if it's not happening today, that's okay. All you have to do is wipe it off. You did it or you didn't. You wipe it off and you show up the next day. And that consistency, that grind is what you can prove to yourself that no matter what, you can keep showing up. So even on those worst days, down the line, you feel gratitude for yourself because you checked the box. You showed up for yourself. And so it's kind of this cycle that continuously pushes you to be better and to show up more often because you're just happy on the days that you do make it.
Amazing. And I'd be curious, I think you've given a lot of great advice on during the actual run itself, how to approach it, how to feel good during it, how to be consistent long term with it. Outside of the run itself, for the runners you coach or just runners that you talk to in general, right? What are some of the big pieces of advice that you have to make sure that, you keep up your running outside of the sport?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So how to keep up all of your running, how to stay consistent?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say the first thing is, number one, put a race on your calendar. That's number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Put a race on your calendar. That is the first and easiest way. Just get out your credit card and do it. Because that will make sure, it'll light a fire under your ass for sure. I would say that's number 1. 2, I talk a lot about community and the people around you. Finding your community, finding people to run with, whether it's one friend 1 day a week, whether it's a club, whether it's an online program, whether, it could be anything, but finding a group of people who are going through it together. Like, as I like to say, that is kind of the fly trap of running. Like, once you're in, you're kind of in. Like it's hard to get, if you have a lot of running friends, it's kind of hard to get out of the sport of running, So I would say those are kind of the 2 biggest things for me. And again, it goes back to enjoyment and loving it and figuring out new ways. Like, maybe performance isn't what's doing it for you. Maybe you're just not amped up about a new race or, anything like that. And maybe it's exploring a city in a different way. Maybe it's trying somewhere new. Maybe it's, it could be anything. mix it up, see what jives with you, because not all runners are built the same. Not all runners have the same mindset. Some people never want to see a single person on a run, and some people will never run without a group. Both are okay. I wish somebody had told me when I first started out that there are, like being a queer person, like being anybody, there's a million ways to do it. And so part of the beauty about running is that you get to kind of craft your own experience and you get to make it completely yours. And so that as soon as you have something and you can be like, wow, this is my running life, like, trust, you will be hooked.
Great. I love that. So your number one piece of advice was sign up for a race, get a race on the calendar. I couldn't agree. I agree so much with that advice. That's the biggest advice I give to people when they want to talk about consistency is always have something lined up because if you don't, it's so hard to like know what you're focused on, even if it's just running for fun. But I want to hear about some of your race experiences a little bit, or even like advice for other runners when you talk about signing up for a race, like what to look for in a race, because I feel like you have ran a lot of races, you've had some good experiences. So do you mind sharing like why you love racing, some of your favorite races, and what some runners should consider when signing up for a race?
Definitely. When you're looking for a race to sign up for, check the elevation. I can't say it enough. People, and I get it, some people do the New York City Marathon, for example, because it's their city and that's the only one they want to do. And that's awesome. But like, just know what the elevation is like. That is the first thing. Know if you're going to be on trail, know if it's on road, know if it's going to be a big marathon or a small one. I personally am, I've done small races, I've done large races. For me, I like the glamour. I like the big city energy. I need people there screaming my name to reach my potential. Throw me into a small race and you will see me flounder because there just isn't that, there isn't the excitement, you know? So play around with kind of what excites you. Some people like the ease of a small race where you can just walk to the start line. I like to be tortured before I even get to the start line, you know, make it as difficult as possible. But that's the big thing, elevation. I would also say just see what excites you. You know, there are certain races that you're like, yeah, I would love to run the Paris Marathon because I want to run under the Eiffel Tower. That's enough of a reason. Like, if that's what sparks joy for you in a race, like, go after that. But I mean, there's so many different races for so many different types of people. I mean, as I mentioned, I started out, my first marathon was supposed to be New York and Hurricane Sandy year. So I ended up doing it in New Hampshire in this small race, which was awesome. But I've done small races like that. I did a 50-mile ultra marathon right before I moved to France. And was in this kind of identity crisis. I was like, you know what? I'm moving to France, but also wouldn't it be great if I ran 50 miles right before I left? So I did it because it was a super flat course, not factoring in that it was August. So I ran 50 miles in no shade, perfectly flat, which was miserable. Actually, it was a fantastic race, but that part was really difficult. But yeah, I would say, like, especially if you're starting out, try different types of races. You won't know if you like the big races until you do it. You won't know if you like the small races until you do it. Like some of my favorite race experiences, as I mentioned, I'm a big city, big crowd. So Boston is my go-to. I've had some really fast PRs there. I just came off a 2:44 last April, and I'm actually training for it again. But also know that as you're going through your running journey, like not every race is the best race of your entire life. And oftentimes they are worse, like way worse. So that's something I have to keep in mind as I'm going through these. Like, don't pick races off of you. If performance is your one goal, you can pick a race based off of this is a flat course. I want a PR. That is fantastic. For me, there are plenty of flat courses. Pick one that's exciting to you. Pick one that you love, like Paris. I love that race. I didn't train for it at all because I was in college still, but that was such a fun one. So all that to say is like, try out different distances, different races, play around with it. Because again, you're crafting your own running story.
So fun. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many great races out there, and it's, what someone's gonna like. Like for me, I've always thrived and done the best in smaller races, but I always have the most fun at the bigger races. So it's like, which one do you decide? But like, I think your point of the fact that you're not gonna have your best race every time you race, is what it is. You might be training perfectly and doing all the right things. You might not show up that day, but that doesn't mean that running isn't for you. It just means that sometimes you don't have those days. But finding the fun and love for running, I think is just so much of a more sustainable approach. So I love the emphasis on that. I'm just curious in general though, Brian, like you have so much positivity to you and enthusiasm that I think is just so healthy. And it's a little bit like, I don't know, like when I hear it, it makes me want to be more enthusiastic as a person. Where does like all this like energy come from and just like happiness that at least externally I see here, both on the podcast and then through your content as well?
Totally. Well, the positivity, the excitement. I've always been a very excitable person. I used to actually be so insecure about how inspired I would get. Like I would like I remember I before I got into when I was kind of start getting into swimming, I read the book oh my goodness, what is it? It's by Chrissy Wellington. She is this huge Ironman out of the UK.
Life Without Limits?
Life Without Limits.
There you go.
Life Without Limits. Okay, I remember reading, and it was about how she won the Ironman World Champions about 5 times in a row. And I was here, not an athlete. I was sitting at a pool on Fire Island in my Speedo, like having a cocktail, finished that book and was like, I'm going to be a professional athlete. Like, this is who I am. And I remember feeling like so insecure and like, I shouldn't let people see these passions. I shouldn't like let this out. And turns out, as soon as I started running a lot, as soon as I really got my groove with my running community, I kind of let that piece of me show more and more, the happiness, the excitement. And the more I showed that, the better my times got, the more I liked running. And so it's not natural for everybody to be this positive. Like maybe I was just born for this. I don't know. But I have to say, like letting that lightness shine over insecurity, over, you know, feeling like you're lesser than, when you find that joy and you let it shine, like performance seeps into every aspect of your life. So it's not always smiles. It's not always rainbows. It's not always sunshine over here. I may or may not have had a breakdown a few days ago because running multiple businesses is very difficult. But the truth of the matter is, like, I am, as a coach and in running apparel, I'm in the business of making dreams come true. Like, how could you not be so amped up talking about that with you? Like, like whether or not it is a direct relation, you are in some way helping somebody change their life, strive for the best. And that kind of emphasis on being your best, like it just is so hard for me not to get so excited. So to answer your question, I don't know if that's baked into who I am, but I just love this sport so much, and I love what I'm doing and the people that come along with it, that you definitely do not need to be more as energetic as I am, because there's a lot here. But it's just something I just love so much.
No, it's great, man, and I think it's super healthy, and it's good for other people to see that, right? Because there's so much negativity that if you wanted to, you can put in front of yourself. So to really have someone who can be that source of positivity, you're helping way more people than you probably even realize. So it's such an amazing thing. Now, I'm curious because I know obviously we spoke about this earlier, right? Your career right now, it's focused within running. It's coaching, it's the apparel company that you started, working with other brands, all of that. Why did you specifically, because within running, I think there's like a few different, there's countless ways that you can actually monetize it, right? But we'll start on the coaching area. Like what led you to want to coach runners specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wanted to coach runners specifically because, number one, I think that is somehow in this topsy-turvy world, I don't know how I got here, but that is my gift. I am not the fastest runner. I am far from the fastest runner. I am far from the most fit person, but this is what I have. This is the tool that I have to, you know, help, I don't know, society, humanity, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, anything. It's what I have to give. And I think in coaching, you know, I'm going to be honest, I started coaching during the pandemic because, number one, people just kept asking me for help. And at first I was like, fine, yeah, get in line. I'll help all of you. Don't worry. And then from there, it's just, I started to see like the individual stories that come out of coaching. it's unlike anything I've ever seen. You're seeing somebody who has never run a day in their life get excited about a 5K. You're seeing somebody who is, instead of going out till 6 a.m., especially in New York, like partying and doing drugs and doing all of that, and which is fine and fun if you're having a good time, but to see that same person decide like, okay, you know what, maybe I'm actually going to go for a run in the morning. Like, to see that kind of transformation, it's so important to me. And I think that coaching allows you to see kind of the best parts of people. It allows you to see, even when people have a bad day, even when people have a hard run, even I've had runners text me after a workout and being like, I absolutely hate you. That was the worst workout I've ever done. Even that, you can start to see people moving forward in a direction. And it's just, as I started apparel, because when I left my corporate job, I was coaching and apparel was the number one thing on my mind. Apparel, apparel, apparel. And over the course of launching apparel, I still, of course, kept up with coaching, and coaching started to naturally grow. I started to be like, whoa, hold up here. I think we have something much bigger here than I initially thought. So now it's much more even in terms of the split of my time and how much development I put into both, because I just think you just get to see so many amazing you get to see the most amazing parts of people, even at their lowest moment. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I'm curious, someone chooses to have you as their coach. What does that actually look like? Do you mind walking me through like what a typical program is and what type of experience someone has for someone who may be interested?
Definitely. So coaching for me with me is all hyper personalized and very customizable. So essentially what we do is, first we have a consultation where we go through your running history, your goals. And more than this, what I'm doing below the surface is trying to figure out what kind of person you are. Are you a person who's looking to run just because you really always wanted to do the New York City Marathon and that's your goal and that's what you're trying to do? Are you the type of person who's always trying to push your limits? And this is just another facet of this. So I'm trying to get to know you as much as possible. So from there, I do it all virtually. I have a great online platform, Final Surge, where I basically line up your entire week for you. Everything from easy runs, long runs, hard runs, rolling out. If you really love Pilates and Pilates is like your thing on Tuesday nights, we're going to schedule that in to make sure you're having fun still with that kind of thing. And from there, essentially, like, yes, I'm a coach, but more than that, I'm kind of your running friend. I'm kind of the person who's with you, trying to figure out how to optimize your performance given what restraints we have in your life and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. So plans they change from person to person. I have some people who are just starting to run. I have a lot of people who are doing their first marathons, are trying to PR. And then I have my kind of like more, I call them professional athletes. They're not professional athletes, but they are to me. They're the people who have been doing this for a long time and are looking to change their routine and kind of get to the next level. So every type of runner comes with a completely different challenge. So I work completely with them to make sure it's a balanced lifestyle, because you don't want training to be all consuming, and it gets that way very, very easily.
I really like that a lot. I'm sure you've been helping so many people and will continue to help even more. So if someone wants to, just to allow yourself to, drop that, if someone wants to work with you, how's the best way for them to get in contact with you in general?
Definitely. You can head to my website, greatdayforrunners.com. You can schedule a consultation right off the coaching side, right off the coaching page. You can also shoot me a DM and we can schedule it that way. But Instagram, my email, brian@greatdayforrunners.com, or my website as well.
Awesome. And then I want you to also talk about your running club here a little bit more deeper. Walk me through like the experience of your club and why you started it a little bit more, for those who might be living in New York and they want to meet up with you and the runners that are part of your community.
Yeah, totally. Gay Bar Fun Run. It is my favorite thing in the world. It is basically once a month, the second Tuesday of the month. We meet at a gay bar in Brooklyn, the Exley. They are so amazing to us. Essentially, we meet up, we go for a little run. It's either 3 or 5 miles. And then basically your choice. We have all different levels of runners. Some people just starting to run, some people who are veterans of the sport. And then afterwards, we come back, we have a drink, we hang out. And it really is like, I try to avoid this word so much when I talk about a brand, but it is a community. Like, I feel like every brand is just community, community, community. It is, but when I think I mentioned this earlier, like, I used to think that being gay and running were two separate worlds. And the fact that I get to create a space that allows for that to mix and also allows for it to mix with queer people, especially, there's a lot of drugs and alcohol out there. There's a lot of mental health issues. We are a vulnerable group in a lot of ways. And even though it's a gay bar fun run, the idea of running beforehand kind of allows people to connect without the alcohol first. It allows them to connect in kind of a neutral space. And there's something so beautiful about the run. You know, everybody shows up their first time. They're like quiet at the beginning. You know, they don't know who to talk to. We go, even running 30 minutes, you come back and you are just so much more open. It just allows you to meet people so much easier. So that's what we're trying to do there. I'm also the assistant coach of Front Runners New York. It's the largest LGBT run club in the city. So I also do work with them. And I think in both instances, like, I hate to use the word, but it's community. It's so hard to make friends as an adult. It is so hard. And the Gay Bar Fun Run kind of, by the way, you do not have to be gay or queer to join this fun run. It's truly for anybody who is down for making running a more compassionate, loving, and fun sport. And that's what we're doing there.
Amazing. That's so cool that you're part of two different groups and just getting together, great positive people that all have, passion for making their lives better, it really sounds like, and connecting with a group of like-minded people. So that's really awesome. Definitely everyone who's in New York should check those out. And then as far as your apparel company, what type of products, are being sold there for those who want to, spice up their running wardrobe?
Step into my closet, baby. It is, so right now it's only me running the show. So it is a slow rollout. Right now we have performance tank tops. We have performance socks. We have one of my favorite shirts. The best-selling shirt is a cotton t-shirt that says "Running is Gay" embroidered across it. We also have a new hoodie, Fire Island Pines Run Club, which is this fictitious run club from this gay island. And so it's performance wear. The performance wear is all made with, right now it's Spanish fabrics, but it's all fabrics from the EU. It's manufactured in Portugal. So it's super high quality in that regard. And the whole point of the brand is when you wear Great Day, if you see Great Day at a race, like I just saw at the New York City Marathon or at the Philly Half or the Philly Marathon as well, you see Great Day and you know there is a person out there, whether they are gay, straight, trans, bi, whatever it is, you know that person is on your team. And I just think that's what's so cool about starting a queer running apparel brand for everybody. It's that you're showing up not only with the best performance wear you can, but you're also showing people that you don't have to start at the start line being this super intense, masculine, crazy. Like, you can be yourself and performance follows that. So that's what we're kind of trying to get across with the apparel.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm sure there's people who see other people wearing it, and it's just a great way to connect and know that it's someone that's probably really approachable. And I'm sure for you, like being the founder of that, it's probably super cool to see people that maybe you haven't even met wearing some of that gear. So that's so cool.
Definitely. And this spring we have a crop top coming out, which I've been waiting for performance crop top because when it is summertime, you don't want to wear a shirt, but your shoulders get sunburned. Guys, we have a solution for this. So it's fun to get to play around the queer community, especially when it comes to fashion and when it becomes style. It's so much more open and you have so much more flexibility. So that's also my fun little project with it.
It's awesome. All right, well, I got two more questions for you, Brian, and then I'll let you get back to your night here. So first question real quick. I want to ask you about 2024 goals for yourself, for your brand's community, whatever it is. what are you focused on for next year? We're in December right now, to make it a fulfilling and great year for yourself.
Totally. So I guess I'll start off with myself. I'm running the Boston Marathon again. About 4 weeks after I ran the Boston Marathon and had a 4.5 minute PR, which is crazy, I got a stress fracture in my foot. And so this past season, it was my first season in years not doing a marathon. So my goal is to show up at Boston. I don't need to PR. I want to PR. I don't need to PR, but I am doing this. I'm running Boston specifically again to prove to myself that I can come back. That I never count me out, because I will be back there in the best shape possible. And that's what I want to show to people, that like even people who running is their full time, they have setbacks where I was crying in my bedroom saying I'm never going to hit, a fast marathon ever again. And I know that my will, my discipline, who I am is stronger than that setback. So kind of like that, I think with the running apparel and the coaching and all of that, my goal is just to continue spreading the idea that making running a little bit more gay for everybody is an amazing thing. This sport there's so much talk about inclusion and how to get as many people in the sport as possible. And we love that. Inclusion is the most important thing. We still have so much work to do in terms of race, getting more diversity at the start line, in terms of more queer people, having more non-binary people come out and more races supporting the non-binary category. That is so important. And my role here is to make that as open and accessible to as many people as possible. So I'm just here trying to make a small difference in a very crowded, very noisy industry of running. And I just hope it resonates with somebody. That's my only hope. If it changes, one person's life. I know that's such a cliche to say, especially since I know I've changed people's lives in some small, teeny tiny way. So I just hope that continues. And I hope it just kind of grows exponentially, because the world needs it. If the world is crumbling, at least you have your run club.
Amazing. Well, I'm confident you're going to achieve everything you want in 2024, man. And just really excited for you to continue all the things you're working on. Last question here for you, though, before I let you tell everyone where to find you and all your brands and coaching and apparel and everything you're working on. It's so amazing. What would you like to leave the audience with today?
I'm going to leave you with the cheesiest thing you've ever been left with. I'm going to say, believe in yourself. And I'm going to say that because I've been in so many positions where I've said to myself, well, there's so many faster runners. Who's going to want to see me coach? Or I'm gay. Who's going to want a gay run coach? So many, I didn't know I would be running marathons this late. Like, giving yourself the opportunity to try, it doesn't matter if you get the result. It is giving yourself the opportunity that matters, because then you'll be more likely to give yourself opportunity in other areas in your life. So go for it. If there's something this year you've had scribbled that's been a secret in your notebook, explore it. Give the time, get it the dedication. Even if it goes nowhere, it's still important that you followed it through. So believe in yourself and actually go do it. Whatever that is, go do the steps. Do the first step. Google how to start an apparel company. Google how do I get faster at running. That's how it starts, and just build from there.
Terrific. Where do we find you, Brian? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who want to follow you after this.
Yeah. GreatDayForRunners.com. You can follow me at GreatDayForRunners on TikTok, on Instagram. My personal Instagram at Brian Boisvert. My last name is very hard to, it sounds like Boisvert, Boisvert. Yeah, you can find me at all those places.
Great. Well, thank you, Brian, so much. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast, to get to know you. I consider you a friend, and I look forward to get to know you more. And like I said, when I'm in New York, I'll be hitting you up for a run. If you're ever in Colorado, reach out to me. But we all look forward to what's to come for you. So keep up the amazing work, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam. It's been so much fun.
You got it.